Now, I'm going to add 5 caveats to this, and you are free to use these as optional ones. I claimed the ones that I wanted, other people will claim the ones they want. So you can use none, you could use all, or just some, and it's up to them to prove that you can't exercise these rights. So here we go. What you could potentially put in would be stuff like, furthermore, I claim the right to lawfully, 1. Exercise my common law right to travel unhindered, unencumbered, at my discretion in my private conveyance of the day, to wit, my private, unregistered, unlicensed automobile. Very important not to call it a vehicle or driving. You are travelling in an automobile, not driving a vehicle. Very important. Back this up with exercise, in number 2, exercise my God-given right to travel as stated in the Queen's Bible. Use this in the Commonwealth, it's powerful. Even though the Queen is only a figurehead, officially, it's powerful. This next one is vital. Exercise my common law right to refuse to obtain by submission any application for any government-issued license, permit, or seek permission to perform any fundamentally lawful action or enter into any contract under duress, threat and or intimidation which would involve committing an act of fraud and or theft or any other crime by way of deception by I and or any involved government principal, employee or agent, in compliance with my common law rights, the Magna Carta. And now, be careful here. Some people say the Criminal Code of England, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland. I wouldn't say it is. I think you could leave it at Magna Carta there, because we don't actually have a codified criminal code. We have statutory regulation, but there's no criminal code just yet. They're trying to implement one, and when they do, that would become usable in your notice. So ignore any references in notices to a criminal code. It's just not useful at the moment. 4. Exercise my right to possess, cultivate or use medicinally any plant of the genus cannabis. 5. Exercise my right to possess unregistered, unlicensed firearms and ammunition, and to use the same for target practice at a range or hunting for food, and further swear under oath never to open fire on another human being unless as a last resort to protect human life. It's all a bit long-winded, I know, but it's quite important to get your wording right, otherwise they'll find ways of stopping you. This next bit is vital as well. I claim that pursuant to any action by any government and or any principal, member, employee, agent, servant, person thereof in right of Great Britain, a province or municipality, quote, I reserve my right not to be compelled to perform under any contract or commercial agreement that I did not enter knowingly, voluntarily and intentionally, and I do not accept the liability of the compelled benefit of any contract or commercial agreement not revealed to myself, which are my rights pursuant to common law. Unquote. Furthermore, I claim the right to engage in these actions and further claim that all property held by me under common law, being any and all intellectual property, real estate, trade tools, private automobiles and contents, firearms and ammunition, potted plants, contents at the private posted residence known as your address, I held under claim of right. Furthermore, I claim that the Crown's claim of escheat to the Crown or the Duchy of Lancaster or the Duke of Cornwall or to a mesne lord for want of heirs, as referred to in the Administration of Estates Act 1925, stands as a lawful claim, and whereas the UK is an insolvency, an estate, where everything is owned by God and currently held in trust under the Crown until the competent heir appears and lays a lawful claim of jurisdiction. In Canada, they actually have an Escheats Act. In Britain, it's the Administration of Estates Act. So, this bit's essential. Furthermore, I claim that the intentional blurring of the lines, with smoke and mirrors, deception, outright lies, and too numerous to mention false claims, as to the well-settled division between the Crown created legal entity known as the person and the flesh and blood creation of the Creator, known as man, is nothing short of theft, fraud, breach of trust, and forced slavery, a heinous criminal activity of the most odious form. Furthermore, I claim that all persons acting as government's principals, employees, agents, and justice system participants claiming retained legal counsel have, by virtue of their own and or their principals' actions, claimed total incompetence in handling any of their own affairs in law, and have become an instant ward of the court. Hence, they are imprisoned by their own actions in hand or lack thereof. Furthermore, I claim that due to the self-evident facts and in truth at hand, that all persons, the Crown, government's principals, employees, agents, and justice system participants claiming limited liability or immunity are doing so under the pretense of being in fact deemed totally incompetent and under law made instant wards of the Crown and or court, and therefore cannot claim good faith or colour of right over anyone who is thus blessed as being a competent heir. Furthermore, I claim that ignorance of the law is not a lawful or legal claim when used by the Crown, government principals, employees, agents, and justice system participants at any and all levels, to my harm or detriment, especially by those claiming limited liability. Furthermore, I claim that these actions are not outside my community's standards, and will in fact support said community in our desire for truth and maximum freedom. Furthermore, I claim that anyone who interferes with my lawful activities after having been served notice of this claim, and who fails to properly dispute or make lawful counterclaim, is breaking the law, cannot claim good faith or colour of right, and that such transgressions will be dealt with in a properly convened court de jour. Furthermore, I claim that the courts in the United Kingdom are de facto, and are in fact in the profitable business of conducting, witnessing, and facilitating the transactions of security interests, and I further claim that they require the consent of both parties prior to providing any such services. Furthermore, I claim all transactions of security interests require the consent of both parties, and I do hereby deny consent to any transaction of a security interest issuing under any act, for as herein stated, a freeman-on-the-land, I am not subject to any act. Now this is all very important when you start to understand security and security interests and UCC and how it's all a money system and not a law system anymore. Get to grips with the security interest thing, because any of you who are thinking of trying to access the bond or security, it's more a security than a bond, it's some kind of trust, or rather access the dividends that are paid quarterly on it, you'll need to get acquainted with some of that. I'm probably going to do another video on this. Now we have to come to the sort of final stages of the notice, detailing the consequences of failing to act or acting unlawfully once you've legalized this document. One of the things I always use is the fee schedule, or schedule, depending on where you're from. Well, mine says, furthermore, I claim my fee schedule for any transgressions by peace officers, government principals or agents or justice system participants is £250 per hour or portion thereof if being questioned, interrogated, or in any way detained, harassed, searched, or otherwise regulated. I think that's pretty fair, because it's a great inconvenience, especially if you act in a lawful manner. So we carry on with this, and £2,500 per hour or portion thereof if I am handcuffed, transported, incarcerated, or subjected to any adjudication process without my express written and notarized consent,